Getting a professional paint finish can be a difficult task, but with the right advice you can paint like a pro. And pros understand that it's important to use quality paint and quality brushes and rollers. And I'm often asked, what makes a quality brush or roller? Let me show you. Before we start painting, we need to soak our brushes to soften the filament, which helps the brush perform better. We need to shake the excess moisture out. When you do that with a cheap brush, straight away the brush loses its shape. But if you do that with a quality brush, the brush maintains its shape, which is going to give you more precision and control. We also need to wash our rollers to get rid of the excess fluff that's on them. We simply take our roller, run it under the water in the laundry sink for a couple of minutes just to get any excess fluff off. But with a quality roller, there's hardly any fluff at all. However, when we wash out a cheap roller, there's lots of fluff, so you've got to wash the roller longer. And you always end up with heaps of fluff, which ends up on the wall. And here's a tradie tip for you. To make sure you really get the excess water out of your roller, stick it on your cage frame and spin the roller down the wall. And just wipe off the excess with a rag. So now it's time to roll. And we're going to look at the difference between a quality roller and a cheap roller. This is the cheap one. And when we roll, the roller tends to thump, thump, thump up the wall, and it's really hard to get a decent finish, and often you get pieces of fluff all over the wall as well. Then we use our quality roller, and what we find is the roller just glides up and down the wall, and you hear that noise because the roller is actually staying on the surface the whole time, giving you a much better professional finish. So now let's compare brushes. I'm going to use the cheap brush first. And the problem there is because I've got flying filament everywhere, it's really hard to get any control. Trying to get a nice crisp edge is really frustrating. Whereas, when we use a quality Monarch brush, the filament is so good that it holds its shape beautifully and the paint just glides off the brush. And cutting a nice straight edge is so simple. Now you may be tempted to buy a bulk pack of inferior brushes and rollers, but here's a tip for you. Using quality brushes and rollers, you don't need to wash them out in between coats. Simply wrap them up in plastic wrap and they'll stay moist until you're ready to do the next coat. So I think I've shown you the value of using quality brushes and rollers. And rather than asking yourself the question, can I afford to buy them? You should be asking yourself the question, can you afford not to?